Has to do with an election. If both candidates in the election have sinful policies, is it right for us not to vote?
Yes, you need to vote. It is a civic duty. I think we muddy the water a lot of times between our spiritual duty and our civic duty. It is a civic duty. It's something that people have died for in this United States so that we can have a right to do it. The whole country was established to give us some spiritual rights, but also when it came to the political things, this country is set up for that. So we need to honor that, follow through with it. Like he said, at the end of the day, you need to vote. You need to pray about what you're going to do. You do need to support, like I said, the people you're trying to elect, they are not spiritual leaders. They are political and civic leaders. We need to keep that in mind. That being said, that's why you're not going to see anybody perfect. Last question. There was only one perfect one, and that was Jesus.
Amen. Thank you so much, Pastor Rodney.
I am the punishment of God. And if you had not committed great sins, God would not have sent a punishment like me upon you.
Shalom, brothers and sisters. Welcome to another episode of Crushing Christian Views. Tonight, we want to talk about a couple of different things. The one thing I want to talk about is this voting block that Black people keep bragging that they have, specifically Black Christian women. I think they're bragging that they have 85 to 90% of the voting block. What we're going to do is show you in the scriptures that voting for our people is a sin. But before we get into that, I need to go over once again about who the Hamites are and who the Negroes are. So what we're going to do is read the definition of Ham, Ham being one of the three sons produced by Noah and his wife, right? So what we're going to do is go over the definition of Ham, which is in the Zondervan Bible Dictionary. This is page 213. Now listen closely, Christians. Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, Canaanites, etc., etc. Now, notice it says not the Negroes. Ham is one of those people that I remember as a young person, white Christian pastors claiming that Ham became black because he was cursed black. Now, that would contradict what the Bible says about God making the first man from the dust of the ground, which is called black throughout the scriptures. And we're going to get to that a little later in the video. But I'm going to read that once more. Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood, he became the progenitor, meaning the father. He became the progenitor of the dark races, which would be the Africans, not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, Canaanites, etc. So we read that in a previous video. We wanted to read that again so that we can remind you of who Ham is. Notice it didn't tell you who the Negroes are from, but we know who the Negroes are from. The Negroes are descendants of Shem, and we can prove that all throughout the Bible. So what we're going to do now is get into this voting thing, which is a sin before God. And we're going to start in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 17. And keep in mind, at the time of Deuteronomy, this is after Moses had led the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt. So we're going to go to Deuteronomy 17, verse 14. And Brother Derek is going to read that for us.
All right. This is Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 14.
Mm-hmm.
When thou art come unto the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee,
Mm-hmm.
and shalt possess it, and shalt dwell therein, and shalt say, I will set a king over me, like as all the nations that are about me.
So notice it says, like as all the nations that are about me. So we're not supposed to set a king over ourselves like all the nations that are about us, except this. Read verse 15.
Verse 15. Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee,
Mm-hmm.
whom the Lord thy God shall choose.
Whom the Lord thy God shall choose. Not who you shall choose, 85% black woman. Who the Lord thy God shall choose. Go ahead.
One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee.
So one from amongst our own brethren, our own people, our own race, shall we set king over us. Go ahead.
Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother.
So now keep in mind again, this is about the Israelites coming out of Egypt at the time and looking forward to going into the kingdom and setting up the kingdom. This is also about where we are today. We're not in our own kingdom. We are in the land of our captivity, which is called America, which the Bible calls the great whore, the beast, the red dragon. It's also known as spiritual Egypt and spiritual Sodom. Let's read verse 15 once more.
All right, Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 15. Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee,
Mm-hmm.
whom the Lord thy God shall choose.
Whom the Lord thy God shall choose.
One from among thy brethren
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
shalt thou set king over thee.
Mm-hmm.
Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother.
So Trump is not your brother. Clinton is not your brother. Bush is not your brother. None of the presidents have been your brother, including President Obama, who is an African, who is a Hamite, which I just read from the Zondervan Bible Dictionary. Keep this in mind, brothers and sisters. You're living in the land of your captivity, and there's no way the beast was going to allow a captive to be president of his great country, America. No, he pulled the wool over your eyes, and he elected, or I should say selected, an African to be king over you for a short time. That would be President Obama. Now, the woman he was married to, or is married to, Michelle, she is one of our people, but Obama is a Hamite. He's not a Negro. So the white man, or the so-called white man, because he's not really white, Snow is white, he pulled the wool over our eyes by saying, look, we're going to allow someone who is related to you be president of our great country. No, he set up the slave master over you. Just like the Egyptians were slave masters over the Israelites, Obama was a slave master over you Negroes here in America. So now we're going to move on from that. Let's go to Genesis chapter 1. I want to talk about something here in Genesis 1 that we touched on in the previous video, where we were discussing how the next day starts in the evening, not in the middle of the night at 12 midnight, like the so-called white man says the next day starts. It actually starts when the sun is going down. The next day starts. We also explained in the last video that Jesus raised up on the Sabbath. He was already gone when the sun went down, and then hours went by, and as the next morning came up, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary showed up. That was the first day of the week. Jesus raised up on the Sabbath, the seventh day of the week. So let's go into Genesis 1 and let's start at verse 5.
All right, this is Genesis chapter 1, verse 5.
Mm-hmm.
And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day.
And the evening and the morning were the first day. So evening starts the first day, then comes the morning. Let's read what's the next verse?
Verse 8.
Verse 5. No, verse 8. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All right. Genesis chapter 1, verse 8.
Mm-hmm.
And God called the firmament heaven.
Mm-hmm.
And the evening and the morning were the second day.
And the evening and the morning was the second day. So the evening comes first to start the new day, then comes the morning. Let's read the next verse, which is 13.
Verse 13. And the evening and the morning were the third day.
And the evening and the morning were the third day. Sorry about that. And the evening and the morning were the third day. Let's go to verse 19.
Verse 19. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day.
And the evening and the morning were the fourth day. The evening comes first, not 12 midnight. As soon as it gets dark, starts the next day. Let's read the next one. Verse 23.
Verse 23. And the evening and the morning were the fifth day.
There it is again. The evening starts the new day, which is the fifth day. Then the morning comes. Let's read verse 31.
Verse 31. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day.
And the evening and the morning were the sixth day. Let's go to Genesis 2. And we're going to read verse 2, Genesis 2, verse 2.
All right, this is Genesis chapter 2, verse 2.
Mm-hmm.
And on the seventh day, God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made.
Is that it on that? Verse 3?
Verse 3. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it because...
I'm sorry. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, meaning he made it holy. Go ahead.
Because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made.
So there's a reason why God is saying, or why the scripture is saying God rested from all his work. It's not talking about he was tuckered out and tired and all that stuff. There's a reason why he said he rested the seventh day. So we're going to go to Exodus chapter 20. Exodus chapter 20. Exodus chapter 20. Exodus 20. Oh, okay. Let's start at verse 9.
Yep.
Okay.
So this is Exodus chapter 20, verse 9.
Mm-hmm.
6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 10. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God.
And that's why God rested on the seventh day, so that he will make the Sabbath for us, so that we can work 6 days a week and do all the things we do, but on the seventh day, we take a rest. Is there another verse on that?
I'll finish reading verse 10.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Exodus chapter 20, verse 10. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates.
So when Christ come, and we have manservants and maids and all this stuff, when we rest on the Sabbath, because the Sabbath is going to go forever in the kingdom. When we rest on the Sabbath, our servants are going to rest as well. Our animals are going to rest. Nobody's going to do any work on the Sabbath. Is that it on that?
Verse 11.
Okay, go ahead.
Exodus chapter 20, verse 11. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath and hallowed it.
He made it holy. So we want you to understand, brothers and sisters, that the Sabbath is very important to the Lord. And those of you who say, oh, you don't have to keep the Sabbath, how are you going to get in the kingdom? Because when we go into the kingdom, those of us who are saved and go into the kingdom, we have to keep the Sabbath in the kingdom. All right, so let's go to, you know what? So let's talk about Kanye West. So Kanye West put out a tweet. I'm not sure when. It was just recent, maybe yesterday. I don't know.
Yeah, yesterday.
Okay. Kanye West, do you have that, what he said?
Yes, let me pull it up.
Okay.
1 second.
So we're going to pull up what Kanye West said. He didn't just come around with this. Kanye West has been saying for a minute now that he understands that Black people, including himself, are the real Jews. So it apparently Kanye West said something about this in a tweet, and I don't know how Twitter works because I've never been on it, but I know that he said something about being that Blacks are the real Jews, and we're going to read it in a minute from words from his own mouth, the quote from his own mouth. We're just looking for it right now. But he said something about waking up in the morning and giving the Jewish people a thrashing because at the end of the day, and I'm paraphrasing, Black people are the real Jews. So Kanye West knows the truth. It's unfortunate that all you Black Christians, you don't know the truth. You think Jesus is a Caucasian guy. You think he loves everybody. You especially think he loves you. And for some reason, this is the only white man on the planet that's going to give you a pass because he's some kind of special guy, this Caucasian Jesus. But all the other white people in the meantime, they hate you. But this particular white man, he loves you. You got a question?
No, I was gonna say I found what were you saying? It was a removed tweet from Kanye West.
Okay.
He, according to I-24 News, October 9th, 2022, at 2:29 a.m., this is when this article was published. It said, in a removed tweet, musician says he cannot be anti-Semitic because Black people are actually Jewish.
Okay. I found the actual tweet.
Okay.
Okay, so the actual tweet that Kanye said last night, he said, I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. The funny thing is, I actually can't be anti-Semitic because Black people are actually Jew.
Black people are actually Jew. Now, how is it that Kanye West recognizes this and thousands of brothers are recognizing this all over the world, but you Black Christians can't recognize it?
And then he said this on
Oh, okay, great. You got more?
Then he said this. Also, you guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone who ever opposes your agenda.
Okay, now, what is the Jewish man's agenda? As a matter of fact, before we go into the part about, you got something you want to add?
No, I was going to add, somebody said this is a mental illness he's going through.
Oh, did you hear that, folks? So the brother has a mental illness because he knows he's a Jew. Okay, before we get into proving what Kanye West said is correct, I want to read something Jesus says about Jewish people. Watch this. We're going to go to Revelation, and I'll read this, Brother Derek.
Okay.
We're going to go to Revelation. Let's see, Revelation chapter 2. Revelation chapter 2. And I'm going to read verse 9. Now remember, these are the words of Jesus the Christ. Revelation 2 and verse 9. He says, I know thy works and tribulation and poverty. Stop right there. When Jesus says, I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, he's talking to Israel. Then he says, but thou art rich. So how are we rich when Jesus just said he knows our poverty and tribulation? Because the Bible, this is what makes us rich. The words in this book. Now watch this. He says, and I know the blasphemy, he know the lies, and I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. See what Jesus says about the Jewish man? Now let's go to Revelation 3. Watch this. Let's see what else is said about the Jewish man. Revelation 3. And we're going to read verse 9 in Revelation 3. He says, "Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie." That's what blasphemy means, to lie. "Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee." So when Christ returns, he's going to show the whole world, especially the Jewish man, he's going to show the whole world that it's us he loved the whole time, not anyone else, black Christians. Anything you want to add something, Brother C?
Yes. May you hold that Bible up again.
Yeah.
For all the people that said they never heard of the 1611.
That's right.
Brother Derek, may you just move it up a tad bit closer?
Oh, okay.
So I'll move it back some. So, and would you mind just move back a little bit more and just read what it says on the cover?
The Holy Bible, 1611 edition, King James Version.
There it is.
Read it one more time.
Read it one more time.
The Holy Bible.
I'm sorry, but people were just saying that they never ever heard of the 1611.
And it's funny because this Bible has been around since 1611.
Listen, the Catholic Church still reads this Bible.
The Catholic Church still uses this Bible. The Protestant Church, which is where Baptist churches and all these other churches come from, they took the Apocrypha out of this Bible in the 1800s when we were in slavery here in America. We're still in slavery, by the way. So
I just want to verify because I noticed when you showed it says 1611 on it.
exactly. So we were going to go into, let's go into the Bible with Jeremiah chapter 14,
Verse 2.
verse 2.
All right, this is Jeremiah chapter 14, verse 2.
Mm-hmm.
Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish.
So Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish. The word Jew comes from Judah, which is a tribe of Israel, which is the tribe where Jesus is from. Read that again there.
Judah mourneth,
Mm-hmm.
and the gates thereof languish.
The gates thereof languish because we have no real leaders. We have no godly leaders. The Christian pastors are not godly leaders. They do everything opposite of the Bible. Go ahead.
They are black unto the ground.
Judah is black unto the ground. What color is the ground? It's black. When you go outside your house, Christians, you look down, you see that the ground is brown, the dust is brown. If you take a shovel and you start digging, as you dig deeper, it becomes darker and darker until the soil is black. That's what that means. Read that once more.
Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish.
No leaders.
They are black unto the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem is gone up.
The cry of Jerusalem is gone up. We're crying now. We're waiting on Christ to return and take us out of this captivity and take us out of this BBL culture. We're crying out to the Lord for him to come and save us out of this. And by the way, we can read that from Luke chapter 1, verse 68 through 71, I believe. Let's go to what's the next one?
It's Daniel 10.
Oh, Daniel chapter 10.
Verses 5 through 6.
And this describes Christ as well. Go ahead.
All right, this is Daniel chapter 10, verse 5 through 6. Verse 5. Then I lifted up my eyes.
Daniel lifted up his eyes. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with fine gold of Uphaz.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 6. His body also was like the beryl.
So his body was like the beryl. Now, a beryl is an ancient stone that priests wore on their breastplates back in the Old Testament. It's safe to say that in this verse, the beryl is, because the beryls came in several different colors. If the beryl was green, it was called an emerald. So in this verse, the beryl is probably gold in color because the previous verse said that, read the previous verse again.
This is Daniel chapter 10, verse 5.
Mm-hmm.
Then I lifted up my eyes
Mm-hmm.
and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with fine gold of Uphaz.
So in this verse, Christ is wearing, he's girded with fine gold of Uphaz because he's probably wearing a breastplate with gold. Then the next verse.
His body also was like the beryl, and his face as the appearance of lightning.
Go ahead.
And his eyes as lamps of fires. And his arms and his feet like in color to polished brass.
His arms and his feet like in color, because you all say color don't matter in the Bible. That's not what God says. It's telling you his skin color is like polished brass. That would be, matter of fact, let's go to, what's the next one? Daniel?
Chapter 7, verse 9.
Let's go to Daniel chapter 7, verse 9. We're going to get y'all straight tonight, Christians. Daniel chapter 7, verse 9.
This is Daniel chapter 7, verse 9. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit.
The Ancient of Days is the Most High God. He's the Ancient of Days. Go ahead.
Whose garment was white as snow.
He's wearing a white garment. He's not how do Christians like to say, God is a spirit? No, God is a man wearing a white garment. Go ahead.
And the hair of his head like the pure wool.
God has woolly hair. The hair on his head is woolly. Let's go to Revelation 1. We're going to go to Revelation 1 so that we can read the description of Jesus in this book, in the book of Revelation, just as we just read it from Daniel chapter 10, verses 5 and 6. Now we're going to read Revelation 1, verses 14 and 15. Go ahead.
All right, this is Revelation chapter 1, verses 14 through 15. Verse 14, his head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow. So stop right there, Brother D. So someone once said to me, well, it says that his hair is white like wool. They were trying to say that wool is white, and that's why it says his hair was white like wool. No, snow is white. That's why it says his hair is white like wool, as white as snow, because snow only comes in one color. Wool comes in several colors. So when it says his hair is white like wool, as white as snow, it means his hair is white like snow, and the texture is woolly, because we just read what his daddy's hair has, or what his daddy's hair is in Daniel 7, verse 9. His hair is like the pure wool. Do you get it, Black Christians? Go ahead.
I get it.
Do you want to add anything?
I get it.
Okay, go ahead.
Verse 15.
Yep.
And his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace.
So this goes along with Daniel 10, verses 5 and 6, where it says he's like in color, his skin is like in color to polished brass. In Revelation 1 and 15, it says it's like brass as if it burned in. That's how you get it. That's how you polish the brass. You have to burn it, shine it up, and it's dark. Jesus is a black man like we are, like all of us are here. We're black men with woolly hair and dark skin. It's that simple, folks. Stop trying to make Jesus a Caucasian guy. It's over for that. Those days are over. What's next?
Numbers.
Okay, we're going to go to Numbers.
Chapter 6, verse 5.
Yep, Numbers chapter 6, verse 5. We're going to keep reading about what the Jews look like, because Jesus is a Jew. And Daniel is a Jew. They're all Jews. Go ahead.
All right, this is Numbers chapter 6, verse 5. All the days of the vow of his separation, there shall no razor come upon his head.
Okay, this is talking about Samson. Go ahead.
Until the days be fulfilled, in which he separeth himself unto the Lord, he shall be holy, and shall let the locks of the hair of his head grow.
He shall let the locks of his hair grow. The locks. Now, I'm sure somebody's going to say, well, white people have locks. Come on. We can line up 1 million white people right now, and 10 of them might have locks. We can line up 1 million black people, and 900,000 of them might have locks. Okay, let's not play these games. Go ahead.
That's it on there.
Okay, let's go to 1 Peter chapter 3.
This is 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 3. Whose adorning let it not be that outward, adorning of plaiting the hair, and of wearing of gold, or of putting on of apparel.
Okay, read that again. Watch this, y'all.
Whose adorning let it not be that outward, adorning of plaiting the hair.
Plaiting the hair.
Plait.
What race of people plait their hair, brothers and sisters? What race of people plait their hair? It's not white people, it's not Arabs, it's not Chinese people. Black people plait their hair. One more time for the people.
Whose adorning, let it not be that our adorning of plaiting the hair, and of wearing of gold, or of putting on of apparel.
So the verse is explaining that shouldn't be your forethought, is to worry about adorning yourself a certain way. But the point that we're getting out of the verse is that plaiting your hair is something Black people do. We plait our hair. Okay, let's go to Ezekiel.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
May you explain the definition of what is the word?
Plaiting.
Plaiting.
Yeah, that's so. When I was a kid, when the young girls in the neighborhood would plait the younger girls' hair, it was kind of a crisscrossing the hair. It was kind of like a braid, but it was like a crisscross kind of thing. I'm sure if it was a sister here right now, she could, an older sister, because I know these young women don't know nothing about that, but because they wear weave. But a lot of the old school sisters could explain that better, the plaiting of the hair. But it was like a certain way you braid the hair, but it was called plaiting.
Okay.
Yeah, I had my hair plaited before when I was younger, so.
Only do that with woolly hair.
You can only do that with woolly hair. You can't plait stringy goat's hair. You can plait sheep woolly hair. I think this is the last one.
There's one more after this.
Okay, let's read Ezekiel 1.
No,
I'm sorry, Ezekiel.
This is Ezekiel chapter 44, verse 20.
Mm-hmm.
Neither shall they shave their heads, nor suffer their locks to grow long. They shall only poll their heads.
Okay, so it says, neither shall they shave their heads or suffer their locks to grow long. Their locks. Black people, we're the ones who wear locks. Locks is an indigenous hairstyle to Black people. Excuse me for saying. That's an indigenous hairstyle to our people, not to any other race. Locks are. Oh, we got one more?
Yep.
This is a short one tonight. Go ahead.
This is Judges chapter 16, verse 19.
Mm-hmm.
And she made him sleep upon her knees. And she called for a man, and she caused him to shave off the 7 locks of his head.
Oh, go ahead.
And she began to afflict him, and his strength went from him.
Okay, so this is talking about Samson and Delilah, I'm pretty sure. He lost his strength when his locks were cut off. But the point we're making is locks, braids, plaiting of the hair, woolly hair. All of this is the same thing. So all these people, by the way, Samson, Jesus, these are all Jews. All these men are Jews with woolly hair. So when Kanye West says that Black people are the Jews, he's exactly right. He's 100% correct. And there are probably no other Black entertainers, as far as I can see, who are brave enough to say the things that Kanye West has been saying lately. And now they want you to believe he's crazy. He's crazy because he bought a house next to his children. That's crazy. There's nothing crazy about that. You all don't like the fact that a billionaire Black man knows that he's a Jew. And that's all we have to say on that. You guys got any?
Yeah, I was going on the topic of the hair.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's the reason why other races are so fascinated by our hair? Always want to touch it and.
So, wow, that was a great question, because spiritually, they don't know that this is going on spiritually. But I have seen, you know what, we might have to put this in a video, but there are a lot of movies out, old movies, where the Black character, especially if it was a movie done in the 60s, the Black character comes into the scene and the white character is like, can I touch your hair? That happens today. People of different races are fascinated with our hair, and yet many of our people want to have fake hair. Now, I'm sorry, I gotta say it's the Black woman, because Black men are not running out getting white man toupees and trying to look like they got white people hair. Black men are not doing that. We're just not. Sisters, you're doing that, and it's time to cut it out. We understand that you're giving billions of dollars to people that hate you to wear fake hair that look like their hair. It's time to cut that out. But they are fascinated with our, that's a good question. They're fascinated with our hair. It's a spiritual thing because there are many instances where Black people go places and people, I've seen the videos, I've seen movies. They want to touch your hair. They want to stroke it. They want to touch this woolly hair. So anyway, any more questions?
Because I was gonna say it was a video that I saw some years ago where this guy, he got a chair and it was from during the slavery time. And I guess he was gonna restitch the chair. So when he was taking the chair apart, he found out that the cushion was made of slaves' hairs.
Wow. Yeah, because it's wool. It's woolly. You can see, you can shave all the brothers in this room hair off, and they could actually put our hair together and make a rope. I'm talking about a strong rope. And like you said, make furniture. Because lots of furniture is made of wool. So, anything you got? Okay, so on that note, we brought you a short video tonight. I want to say shalom. I want to say
like, comment, and subscribe.
What Brother Derek said, like, comment, and subscribe to Crushing Christian Views. And we'll see you in the next one. Shalom.
I am the punishment of God. And if you had not committed great sins, God would not have sent a punishment like me upon you.